Okay. Can you hear me? Yep. Yay. Okay. Well, I think you guys all know me, but in case someone's watching that doesn't, I'm Melanie Eliason, not Mel Eliason, like Diane put on the thing. I don't like that. So I am going to be talking to you and with you tonight about rest, which is something that the Lord is teaching me about this year very intentionally and very on purpose. So before I start, getting all spiritual, I want to talk about just a little bit about my background so you guys get to know who I am a little bit. New Year's is my favorite holiday. I love it with a passion. Everyone's like, oh, I love Christmas and Easter, Thanksgiving. I do too, but New Year's is so exciting because it's like a fresh start and you get to make goals and you get to reach them. I love doing that. I start thinking about New Year's in November. I start thinking about like, ooh, what goals could I make? Wowza. And in November, I started thinking again this year, like, all right, let me look at my list. And I always have like a list of probably like 10 or 15 goals that I'm working toward. And some of them are things that can be accomplished in a day. Some of them are, things that I'm working on the entire year. And I started thinking about it in November, and I was just like, all right, what do I need to finish this year, and what can I look forward to the next year? And I just kind of sat down, and I was like, all right, God, what are we thinking? And I heard the word rest. And I was like, anything else? Like, this is new. I don't really know much about rest. It's not something that I am super familiar with. I'm really good at making goals. I'm really good at accomplishing them. If I make a goal, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to meet it. I was thinking about, do you guys remember that old like Planet Fitness commercial? It was like, I pick things up and put them down. Like, my motto in life is I make goals and I accomplish them. And so when God like put in my spirit rest, it really took me back. It was not something that I felt super comfortable with or like familiar. Just to give you kind of a background, in 2020, one of my goals was to walk every day for 20 minutes. It was 20 minutes every day. And there was so much good that came out of that. I still walk almost every single day. I hardly miss a day. But in 2020, when I made that goal, it literally was life-giving and also sort of striving at the same time. I can remember a time in February, we were buying a car. So we're at the car dealership, and it's like a drizzly February day. And I'm like, man, I have not walked yet. I really need to get this in. So when you're buying a car, there's like that negotiation process. Like, here's what they'll tell you, like, here's what the car costs, and then we're like, oh, well, actually, here's what we were thinking. Like, we're in the middle of that, and it sometimes takes a while, because there's, at least in every experience that I've had, there's like the person that's doing the finance and the person that's selling you the car, and there's like negotiation going all over the place. So in the middle of that, I am literally like, okay, here's what we think, here's the process, and I'm just gonna go outside and I'm just gonna walk a couple laps. Like, it's drizzling, but I have got to meet my goal. I've got to get this in because it's something that I set before me, and I want to do it. Like, I've purposed to do it every day for 20 minutes, and I'm not going to let buying a car and a little drizzle stop me. I remember another time, Diane came over. It's almost embarrassing, but she came over, and she's such a good friend. She just let me be. I don't know what you were actually thinking, but we're in my basement, and we're having like a craft art night, and I'm like, well, I actually haven't worked out yet, so if you don't mind, while we're talking and stuff, I'm just gonna lay on the floor and just do some leg lifts and just do a couple of things. Like, this was my mentality. So when I tell you rest was a new concept, I truly mean it. When the Lord put it in my mind, I was just like, huh? I don't know how to do this. I only know how to make goals and accomplish them. I don't know how to rest. And the Lord has just been so faithful. He has put so many things in my life in the past 4 months that have caused me to stand back and reevaluate and rest and remember all that he has taught me. And just the other day, I was like, God, could you just like lay back a little bit on these things that are causing me to like have to rest, because I'm actually tired of dealing with all of these things. Like, he's just brought so many things up in me and to me, and I'm just learning to like rest. So you all have a whiteboard except for Ben. Can someone give Ben a whiteboard? Okay. So here's what I want you to do on your whiteboard, because this is like what I asked the Lord. I know mine are going horizontal. I want yours to just go like vertical. Vertical, horizontal. So everyone hold your whiteboard vertical and write R-E-S-T. I know, I wish I really messed that up. Just wanted to see how much you were paying attention. No. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. No, you can, I don't know. So here's what I want you to do. When I was thinking this through and like talking it over with the Lord, here ladies, I just wanted him to give me like some specific things, like what does rest actually look like? So I want you guys to do that too. I want you to think about the word rest, and I want you to think about a word or a phrase that comes to your mind when you think of like R, and then E, and then S, and then T. Because I really want this to be interactive. I want it to be something where you walk away and you're like, this isn't just for Melanie, like this is for me too. So I'm gonna give you just like a minute to think, like, what could the R stand for in rest? What about the E, the S, the T? Phil, you need a whiteboard and a marker. This is interactive. Don't stress out if you can't think of something for every. I can see like the anxiety on some of your faces. It's okay. Anyone listening at home too, you should be doing this, unless you're driving. What are some of your ideas for R? What do you have written down? When you think of rest, what could be a word that starts with an R other than the word rest itself? Did anyone have anything? Reminiscent? Oh, I don't even know how to spell that. Really? Niscent? How do we think?
That's from English as a second language person.
I know.
Funny.
Reminiscent. Anyone else? Relaxation. Rely. Ooh, these guys are so good. I knew you guys were going to come up with some good stuff tonight. Yeah. Remember the Lord. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I love that. So mine, sort of similar to Diane's, was remember to pause. And when I thought about rest, I thought about so many times our life is crazy, and we have all of these things coming at us, and we have so many responsibilities and so many people counting on us, and if we don't remember to pause, we actually never kind of enter rest. And I don't know about you guys, I love the Psalms. I love the Psalms because any emotion you are feeling, you can find it. You're angsty and angry, you'll find it. You're sad, you're elated, you will find it in Psalms. And so I was just looking at Psalm and thinking about like remembering to pause. And I thought about that word Selah that comes at the end of lots of different Psalms. I think most scholars believe that it really just means pause, like pause, stop. And so I was thinking about Selah, and I thought, I wonder when we find that in Psalms. So I just kind of started looking through Psalms, and I was like, I was sort of expecting it to be after phrases like, God, you're amazing and almighty, Selah. But when I looked through, and I didn't look through all 71 of them, I just kind of thumbed through my Bible and looked, it was after like, a lot of times like horrible things, like basically like, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, Selah. And I was like, what? Like it kind of blew my mind, but I was like, isn't that like the Lord? Like, here are all my feelings and my thoughts and my emotions, and I'm feeling like, I feel like I'm angsty, and there's just so much happening. Selah. Remember to pause. And there have been so many times in the past 4 months where I have literally, like, I've just felt derailed, or I felt shaky, or I felt like I don't know how to handle this. I feel overwhelmed. I feel angry. I feel frustrated. And the Lord was like, Selah. Remember to pause. All right. Here is how I feel. I am angry. I don't understand why this person is acting this way. I don't understand why all of the things in my life are not lining up the way I want them to do. Here's my thoughts, here's my opinions, here's my feelings. Selah. Remember to pause. And when I can do that, the Lord meets me where I am, and he's like, I'm here. I'm in this. Like, do you see me? I'm working. I'm actually like working behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. Like, you're not always seeing me, but I'm here. If you can just remember to pause, and you can just take a minute, even in the middle of your crazy day, if you look for me, you will find me every single time. And I cannot tell you how many times I've come back to that, like, just remember to pause. One of the things that I've been trying to do with my kids is just memorize scripture. And I want to read Psalm 86:11 to you. And this is a verse that we memorized last week. This is the Passion Translation. So it's Psalm 86:11. Says, teach me more about you, how you work, and how you move, so that I can walk onward in your truth until everything within me brings honor to your name. I literally remind myself, He is truth. All of the things that are happening around me and within me are not necessarily the truth. My feelings will lead me astray. My opinions, my thoughts, they are not necessarily truth, but He is. I want to walk in His truth until everything within me brings honor to His name. That is my R. Remember to pause. What's your E? That was a hard one. Did anyone have an E? Good. You can call them out. Anyone else? We don't usually think of energy like rest. Like oftentimes you think of rest being the opposite of energy. But have you, I don't know if you guys are power nappers. I'm like a huge power napper. You give me 20 minutes, I will wake up a new woman filled with energy. So I love that one. Encourage. Yeah. But it is. It is rest. Evolve. Oh, you guys are so good. I knew you weren't going to let me down.
I'll let you down. Easy.
Well, it says, like, His yoke is easy, His burden is light. I will say, though, rest has not been an easy process for me. What do you mean?
Like if I have to do something that's challenging, I'm not at rest.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, my E was also an action word, a phrase. My E was embrace change. So, I'm probably going to cry on this. I'm going to try not to, but if you know anything about me, I cry when I'm happy, sad, angry. It's just like my go-to. I try really hard, and I was like practicing this in my kitchen tonight, and I was like, oh. So I'm going to really try not to. So when I think about embracing change, I would say probably most people that is challenging for. It's challenging for me, so I'm going to speak for myself. I find change to be a challenge because I have a pretty set way that I think my life is going to go and how I think the people in my life should just kind of follow in my trajectory. And when I think about rest, I think of everything just working together. Here's my plan, here's my goal, let's just go. And so when the Lord just laid on my heart, embrace change, I was like, whoa, what? And so I want to read, actually, why doesn't someone read Hebrews 13:8? I think there's a microphone that we're supposed to be using. I never know how to operate these things. Also, I'm getting old, so I have to do, I don't know, is this on? I think it's on. Yeah. Can someone read Hebrews 13:8? Yeah.
Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever.
So because He is the same yesterday, today, and forever, I am able to embrace change. If you look at times in Scripture, even when God changed his mind, he never changed his character. He was steadfast. And because I am rooted and grounded in him, because I have remembered to pause and I've remembered who he is and I am in him, I can embrace change. So growing up, I was always a chubby kid. I always dealt with weight issues. And as I grew up and grew into adulthood, I was just able to manage and curb my weight and live a healthy lifestyle. And this year I noticed I was gaining weight and I didn't really know why. I'm getting older, it's harder. I used to be able, if I gained a few pounds, I would just, do something and lose them and just keep moving. But I was finding that I couldn't do that anymore. And I had just a routine doctor visit. And when I went, I looked at the scale. And I know this sounds so simple for some of you. For me, it was so painful. I was 10 pounds heavier than I was a year and a half ago. And so immediately, I just went into, okay, I'm going to do Whole30. I'm going to stop eating sugar. I'm going to stop eating carbs. I'm going to do everything. I will lose the weight and I will move on. And why did I care about it? I didn't even care about it until I saw that number on the scale. And I just was I just fell apart. And then I just was reminded, okay, remember to pause. And Jocelyn had spoken a couple weeks, probably months ago, maybe in February, about just our confession. And so one afternoon, I was just in my bedroom, just talking to the Lord about it. And I was like, all right, here's my confession. And I have been praying this all school year. As schools, as classes were having so many kids sent home and quarantined for COVID, my classroom didn't have very many. And take that with a grain of salt, but I believe that it was because of the prayers that I prayed over my students, my kids, my family. And I would take a walk and I would pray, and my confession was, health and wholeness are my inheritance for myself, my family, and my sphere of influence. And so as Jocelyn began talking about that confession, I just was reminded about that. So I'm dealing with frustration with my weight and just, dealing with old things and old patterns and old ways of doing things. And I was like, no, my confession is that health and wholeness are my inheritance for myself, my family, my sphere of influence. I am going to do things a little differently. I can't deal with these issues on my own. And the Lord actually, in my bedroom, brought me to a place where I was able to embrace a new mindset and a new change. And I literally saw the faces of two boys who had spoken hurtful words over me and over my weight. And out loud, I just said their name, I forgive you. I am not bound under those words anymore. I have embraced a new way of living. And I literally saw, there's a photo of me when I'm probably about 11 years old, and those pools that our parents used to fill up with the garden hose, they're that hard plastic. I'm kind of sitting on the edge of it, and my belly is big. I was a chubby kid, and I hated that picture, and I literally, the Lord brought me to that picture, and I just spoke over that little girl, and I just told her, you are beautiful. You have what it takes. You are amazing. You are made in the image of the Lord. And because health and wholeness is your inheritance. Like, your old ways of living and your old patterns are changing, and we are embracing a new way of rest. There is no more striving. We are not doing this anymore. And I had thought that my issues with weight, like I thought I had dealt with that years ago, and I dealt with it somewhat, but once my body was just like, I don't know, getting old, like I couldn't control it anymore, and the Lord just brought me to a place where I remembered to pause. I found out who He was. I listened to what He said over my life, and I was able to embrace a new change and a new way of thinking for really the first time in almost 42 years. Like, it just changed. Like, His rest has changed every aspect of my life. And this is like 4 months in, and I'm like, Lord, like, I'm so humbled. Like, there are literally things that are happening in my life, in my parenting, in marriage, in relationships, that I think that if the Lord hadn't been already dealing with my heart, I would have just, in my own striving, tried to do things, and I think I would be actually a different Melanie than I am right now. Like, 4 months in of this rest in the Lord, and I am changed and changing still. It's like the Lord in His goodness was like, I see all of these coming to you, and because I am good and I'm a good Father, I am going to solidify you in rest so that when these things come, you are prepared and you are ready. And I am still learning, and I am not doing things perfectly. There are lots of days where my emotions are all over the place, and I forget that I'm supposed to pause, and I forget that I have a new way of thinking and that I am able to embrace change. But when I can stop myself and center myself in the Lord and find Him as my source, it is literally changing the way I parent, the way I am a wife, the way I am a teacher, the way I am like a friend, and it is transforming my life. I was just thinking about scripture for this, embracing change, and I mean, I had already mentioned Hebrews 13:8, where Jesus is the same yesterday, today, and forever. But I was also reading in Romans 8, which, I mean, is one of the most amazing books in the Bible. It's like, all things work together for our good. If God is for us, who can be against us? Nothing can separate us from the love of God. Like, all of those things are just repeated over and over. And so as I center myself in Him, as I allow Him to be my source, then nothing can separate me. Nothing can come against me. He's my source. Ooh, source. That's not my word, but I might just write that down because that's a good one. Did anyone have another S? Simplify. Good. Space. Sustain. I know I say this every time, but guys, these are so good. So the S that I thought of, and I'm still working on this one, is Sabbath. I always was taught about Sabbath like it's a Sunday. I mean, my grandparents like you didn't do anything on Sunday. Like you wouldn't go to the store on Sunday. You wouldn't shop on Sunday. You probably, I don't even think, would go out for dinner on Sunday because then someone has to work to serve you. And so that was kind of how I was raised. Like Sunday was just a day that was set apart. Like you went to church and then you rested. And I still think Sabbath as a habit and a practice is actually really important. But I know Mark and lots of people have taught on how the Sabbath is not just a day, it's more like a state of being. Like the Lord is our Sabbath, He's our source. Because He's our Sabbath, like we're safe, our life is simplified. Like be still and know that I am God. Like He sustains us. All of those words that you guys wrote there are really the embodiment of what Sabbath is. The Lord is our Sabbath. And if I can just source myself in Him, if I can rest in Him, then it's okay if my week is busy, and it's okay if things are coming at me and maybe I feel overwhelmed or I'm not able to handle the things that are coming my way, because I know that if I stop and I just remember who He is my Sabbath. It says in Hebrews 4:9. Does anyone want to read that? I like when you guys read it. Hebrews 4:9. Does anyone want to get that? All right, Diane. Oh, no. Okay, Mark. Yay.
Consequently, there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. That's all I got.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it from the Passion Translation?
Sure. I think I might have actually had like verse 9 and 10 here, so
Okay.
maybe you could read them both.
For the one who has entered his rest has himself also rested from his works, as God did from his.
Yeah. So this verse, I think that's probably why people in past, like in my grandparents' generation, and my family was Mennonite, so I don't know if that's just a Mennonite tradition or if it was like that for all like Christians, but because God rested on the seventh day, like that was their kind of version. But I think the Sabbath rest for us is very different. Like the Sabbath rest for us is so much less about what we're doing on that day or any day, and more about how we're living and are we allowing the Lord to walk through us and in us. And I actually really like the Sabbath as a practice too. I really like to have one day a week where I can just chill. On Sundays, especially in the winter, we have like a fireplace, like a real fireplace. Like it's not gas, it has logs. Like you have to build a fire. It usually takes me about 30 minutes because I'm not very good at it. But I like to build a fire and I like to lay on my couch and just like rest and, no one bother me. I'm just here in my zone. And I think it's really good for our bodies to have that. So it's not just about being sourced in Him, but also like actually taking that into practice. On Sundays, I call it setting myself up for success. And I will just get out my clothes for the week. And listen, wow. I know. My personality, I am complicated, okay? I like to have things organized and orderly. That's why I'm really good at accomplishing goals, because I like to kind of have my meals ready for the week, not prepped, but I know what I'm gonna make, and Sundays are my day to just not only fill my spiritual self, but also just get myself ready for the week. And so as I think about Sabbath, I actually really like both the spiritual and the practical side coming together. All right, we have one more letter, and that is T. So I would love to hear your thoughts. When you think about rest, what comes to your mind that begins with a T? A word or a phrase? Timeout, transition. When I think about a timeout, I think of like when you put your kids on a timeout. Yeah. I need to put myself on a timeout sometimes. Trust. Oh, yes. Whoops. Transformation. So my T is take time, ... And I'll explain what I mean by that. When I think about taking time, like in our culture right now, self-care is like huge. Everyone talks about self-care, like take time for yourself. And that could be part of rest. I think that's actually a very important thing. Like take time for yourself. Treat yourself well. Allow yourself to not just rest as like a state of being and like all the things that we're talking about here, but also just taking time for yourself to do something that you like, to do something that brings you joy. I also like take time to be still. That was one of the words that someone said here, like stillness. Take time captive. Time was never meant to be our master. It was actually meant for us to master it. So since you guys have whiteboards, what are some quotes that you can think of that have the word time? I had fun with this when I started thinking. Like, our culture is kind of obsessed with time. Can you think of any quotes that have the word time in? If you can think of them, you can write them down. I always make my students write them down because then they're accountable. And then I can call on anyone and they have like something written. But if you can think of a time quote, call it out. Time stands still for no man. Running out of time. I didn't have time. Time weighs heaviest on those who have it least. Oh, that's a good one. I've actually never heard that. Did you make that up? No. Oh, it's good. I was thinking like, time is money. Time waits for no one. Time flies when you're having fun. Time heals all wounds. Some of those are true, some of them not necessarily. In our culture, Diane, you said something like, I don't have time. Like, there are so many people that will just say, oh, I don't have time to do that. I don't know how you read. Like, I love reading. It's one of the things that brings me the most joy. So I make time for it. And I usually read about 40 books a year. So about every 9 days, I'm finishing up a book and reading another one. So people will say, well, I don't know how you have time for that. As a general rule, you have time for what is important to you. And so when I think of rest, I think about taking time and taking time under my wing and under my control and my dominion. Leslie Gabler, I don't know if you guys ever have listened to her teaching. I know some of you have, but I had to have asked Diane to look it up for me. Back in 2018, she stood up here for a Bible study, and her whole Bible study was about time. And she is such an amazing teacher. I love listening to her. she goes back in history and she's just, her mind is incredible. I love it so much. But she was just talking about time, like the Hebrew perspective of time, and even like the Greek and Roman perspective of time. And she just talked about how time isn't a good master. And up until this year of rest, I have always taken pride in how much I was able to get done in a period of time. Like, people would be like, I don't know how you get all the things that you get done. And I'd be like, I know, I'm pretty amazing. But at what cost? Would it have served me better to go to bed than to do a workout because it was day 7 and I was supposed to get it in and I didn't? Would it have served me better to just spend time with my friend Diane instead of doing leg lifts? I was wearing tights and a skirt. She did not need to see that view. It was ridiculous. Like, what? Like, it is embarrassing, but it's just like, I had to accomplish a goal. And like, that was, time was not, like, it was, what am I trying to say? It ruled me. I didn't rule it. And I mean, like, we all walk in moments of grace and stuff, but as a general rule, time was just, it wasn't my friend. I could always get in one more project or do one more thing. If we were meeting for lunch at 12, I would tell myself, okay, to be at, I don't know, Cafe del Sol at 12 o'clock, I should leave my house at like 11:45. Then I'll be there in plenty of time. But then it would be like 11:40, and I'd be like, oh, you know what? I could probably just fit in one more thing. It'll take me 5 minutes. We all know the 5-minute tasks usually end up taking about 12. And so I would leave my house, and I would be just a little bit late. Like, I wasn't a jerk. I wasn't making my friends wait for 10, 15, 20 minutes. I was just like, but I was perpetually late about 5 minutes. Why? Because I just wanted to get one more thing in. I was not resting. I was just always striving to do one more thing. So in this year of my rest and embracing all that it has been teaching me and all that I have been learning, I am truly managing my time better. And as much as it depends on me, because I have other family members that sometimes come places with me, and we are still sometimes late. But as much as it depends on me, I'm really trying to honor time. Like, it is my slave. I am not a slave to it. And so as I think about all of these things, like, this is what the Lord has been teaching me. I'm just, in every moment when things are crazy, I'm just stopping. Just stop. Remember to pause. Lord, you are my source. I am safe in you. I rely on you. I expect you to move on my behalf. I am remembering to pause. I'm remembering who you are. I'm centering myself in you because you are a good Father. And even though things look crazy and people aren't doing things the way that I expect them, I am centering myself in you. And then I'm also willing to embrace change. I am willing to say, okay. Like, there have been times in my marriage over this past 4 years where I have literally had to say, all right, I think my way is the best. I actually truly believe that my way is the best, but because I'm honoring Ishmael and who he is and our marriage and our relationship, I am willing to embrace change, and I am willing to say, okay, here are my thoughts, here are my opinions, and also, we can actually do it your way. And you know what? It is bringing a newness to our relationship. It's bringing us closer because I don't actually have to be right. I can just say, even though I think I'm right, I'm just like, the Lord is my source, not my opinions, not my feelings, not my thoughts about whether I'm right. The Lord is my source, and so I will do it your way. And I will come and we can meet together, and like, even if it's the wrong decision, I think the Lord honors that heart. And I don't think, like, I don't think it will be counted against us. I think it will only end up, being for us and being good for us. And I have practiced Sabbath, not just as a practice of like laying out my clothes, even though I do sometimes do that, but also just I just need a moment. Like, I need to remember who you are. Like, you're my source. You're my good Father. I am safe in your arms. I'm still. Like, you are God. I'm still. And then remembering that time is my slave. It works for me. It is not my master. And I hope this was like good for you, and maybe just bring some encouragement to you. I mean, honestly, the first two, even if I just like cross this off, these first two have been life-changing for me. So I want to just sum up by reading. I told you I love Psalms. I'm going to read Psalms 16 to you because this is kind of just summed up my year of rest. Psalm 16. Preserve me, O God, for I take refuge in you. I said to the Lord, you are my Lord. I have no good besides you. And I'm skipping down to verse 5. The Lord is my portion and my inheritance and my cup. You support my lot. The lines have fallen to me in pleasant places. Indeed, my heritage is beautiful to me. And I think back to my confession, like, health and wholeness are my inheritance. Like, my heritage is beautiful to me. The lines have fallen in pleasant places because I have been willing to embrace change. I will bless the Lord who has counseled me. Indeed, my mind instructs me in the night. I have set the Lord continually before me. I have remembered to pause. Because he is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Because he is at my right hand, I will not be shaken. Therefore, my heart is glad and my glory rejoices. My flesh also will dwell securely. For you will not abandon my soul to Sheol, nor will you allow your Holy One to undergo decay. You will make known to me the path of life. In your presence is fullness of joy. In your right hand there are pleasures forever. Selah. Didn't actually say that, but I added it. So, I'm curious if you guys have any, like, I know I did a lot of talking. I'm kind of used to, like, running the show because that's my job. I'm an oldest child. I am a teacher. I am, like, an extroverted personality. So, but I really, like, I love this. I actually want to take a picture of this and just, like, think about some of these more. I don't know, this year has just been, I just feel like there's been one thing after the other where the Lord, like, I'm having to lay down so many things to the point where I'm like, okay, God, I got it. I'm resting. Can we just, like, take a break? But it's like his goodness is overwhelming because it's just, I know that whatever comes my way, like, I'm able to rest and I'm able to like take it to him, and he is my sustainer. So, if you guys have any, yeah. Yeah, because I am very busy. Yeah, so she said, is it possible to rest when you're busy? I think that's actually the most important time to rest. And I think rest is literally, it's not like, it doesn't mean like you're just sitting down. It's really like, I mean, this sounds kind of new agey, but it's like a state of being. It's like, even in the midst of my crazy day, like, oh my gosh, I like tonight, I mean, I literally I was in the middle of making dinner, and I look at the clock, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta take Xander to soccer practice. So I stopped, I took my dinner that's half made, I put it in the refrigerator, I took him to soccer, I picked up a mirror, I came here, like, I would have every reason to come in here frazzled, but I did not, because he is my rest. Like, I have chosen a posture, not always. I am not perfect. I am absolutely learning, but I've chosen a posture that even though I'm busy, even though things are around me are crazy, he is my rest. Like, I literally just sense the Lord, like, you know, I'm not trying to over spiritualize it, but yeah, I think it's possible to be very busy and still be completely at rest. And I'm not 100% walking in it. Like, you can ask my family. There are many times where I'm frazzled and in tears. I am learning this. I have not mastered it. Yeah. Well, let me pray for you guys and for me. God, thank you for who you are. I thank you that you are our rest. I thank you because of you, we are not ruled by the things that happen around us. I thank you for bringing us up and seeing your perspective. And even though things may be chaotic around us, and even though things are not going our way, and even though things are not lining up the way we envisioned them, God, even sometimes the things that you're doing, I'm just like questioning, like, why? I don't understand this. Even in those moments, I ask that you would remind us of who you are, that you would settle our spirits, and that we would be able to rest completely, knowing that you who started the good work in us will be faithful to complete it. Amen. Yeah.